you can get much quicker, better gains from, not necessarily better, but quicker gains and significant gains from title testing. And it is the lowest lift out of any activity you can do on your listing is simply split testing your title. So we can see, I think it's up to like 550 or 600% increase in sales by just...
Welcome to today's episode of the E-Commerce Revolution podcast, where we dive into the dynamic world of e-commerce and uncover the tools and tactics that empower today's emerging entrepreneurs. Our podcast is part of our community with the same name. The community is geared to providing emerging e-commerce entrepreneurs with courses, content, and coaching to help you all launch and grow successful businesses. Check us out at ecomrevolution.co. Let's get things started. Welcome to another episode of the E-Commerce Revolution podcast. I'm Ramin, your host. So today we're diving into one of the most critical yet often overlooked pillars of Amazon's success, listing optimization that actually converts. And not just any optimization strategies. We're talking about the tactics that don't just get you found, they turn your browsers into buyers and drive serious revenue. Joining us today is Daniela Bolzmann, founder and CEO of Mindful Goods. Amazon has actually featured her work, which is pretty incredible coming from Amazon. Not to say that they don't feature people's work, but very nice for a big company to feature her work. And she's also been a featured speaker at Amazon Accelerate. So we'll walk through Daniela's strategies, unpack what truly drives Amazon's success today, and explore the tools and tactics that you can start using right now to make your Amazon listings more powerful. So without any further ado, please welcome Daniela to the E-Commerce Revolution podcast. Daniela, wonderful to have you here today.
Thanks for having me, Ramin. This is where I do my little walkout dance on stage.
I love it. I love it. Now, listen, we had a little conversation, or a long conversation before we started recording. You've got to tell everybody where you're calling in from, so to speak.
So I'm calling in from Peru, in South America, in this tiny little beach town called Punta Hermosa, which is a little surf town 40 minutes south of Lima.
Wow. I mean, if anybody is listening to this, we've had guests from all over the United States. I think maybe we've had a couple of international guests as well. But as I was talking to Daniela, and Daniela, you were telling me about this town, you used the word, it's almost like being semi-retired and continuing to work and build a business, which I just love. It's such a beautiful picture you painted of where you live.
It is. You know, when I first started this agency, I was coming off of 8 years of living in Chicago. And I grew up as a SoCal native. So I've definitely lived that life. But when I was in Chicago, I had started a tech company. And once I exited that tech company, I realized that this is perhaps going to be the time in my life where I can pick up my laptop and work from anywhere, and that I don't have to babysit people in an office. And I want to work with people that are like-minded like that. So I ended up following a bunch of online gurus and seeing where they were going all over the world. And I told my boyfriend at the time, now husband, why don't we go to Medellin, Colombia, and work for 30 days from there, just to like dip our toe in the water, you know, like let's just like see what it's like. And so we did that. And I was starting this business at the time, pulling my hair out at the time, not knowing what I was doing. And that, you know, slowly evolved into, you know, leaving Chicago during the winters, coming to Peru for the summers, and 3 months turned into 6 months, turned into stuck here for COVID, and then realized that we actually preferred living here and not living in the United States. So we kind of gave up our US life.
Wow. And you know, I was asking you also, there's got to be a downside to living so far away. And you really just said, well, you know, once in a while we need more goods. So we have to go to Lima and get this. So I think that's awesome. And anybody who's listening, you know, I think as entrepreneurs, whether you're running a e-commerce company or an agency or, you know, whatever it is, you know, things can get stressful. Running any business can be stressful. Why not be in a place that is actually calming while you work on some things that might bring you a little stress?
Exactly. I think that was the whole point. Medellin, what it showed us is it basically puts you into like this tunnel vision mode where you're in like for us, it was 30 days. So we knew we had like a 30-day sprint, like, yes, we want to see some of the sites and we want to enjoy Colombia, but we were there to like really focus on our business without distraction. And it allowed us to do that. Sometimes when you're in a city with all your friends, you're out and about and doing all these other things that maybe are not the best for you in that moment when you just need to have complete and utter focus on you growing this little business, So that's what it allowed me to do. And that's what it continues to allow me to do, to be honest. I live kind of off the grid. It feels like it's in the middle of nowhere. Like I don't have a car. I have a golf cart. I get around on my golf cart and I do my grocery shopping at this little tiny market, and we're primarily focused on working. And then in our extra time, we, break up the days with a little bit of tennis, a little bit of paddle tennis, and, ceramics class and other things. So
wow. Okay. So no car insurance, no medical insurance is super cheap. Your dental insurance, you told me there is none. You just go pay and it's very inexpensive. All right. Well, I think we should all pack up and come and see you. I mean, I don't know what else to do at this point.
I would say the one downside is most of my family is still in Southern California. So it is kind of a trek to get over there and to visit them. And a little bit of a sticker shock, if I'm being honest, every time we go back.
Yes, absolutely. Everything you see, from the food, grocery store. I went to Erewhon, right? Forget it. Like, you may as well take a little loan out when you go there to that grocery store. Wonderful grocery store, but still very, can be challenging. You go to a small little grocery store and get everything you probably need, and life is good.
I still get to buy a $3 cappuccino. But I was just in New York a couple days ago with the Amazon team, and I was spending $10 on my same cappuccino, and I was just like,
Well, it makes you think. Well, let's dive into this work, because I think this is a very important area. Obviously, Amazon is still incredibly powerful and will be for the foreseeable future when it comes to helping sellers build profitable businesses. Tell me, you work with a lot of different brands. You have a lot of different strategies. We'll dive into the PDP, the product detail page optimization strategies. But tell me right now, what do you think, somebody who's doing it on their own, what's like the biggest mistake you see a brand make, maybe when they come to you to look to hire you? What are some of the mistakes you're seeing people take on this Amazon listing strategies that they have?
That's a good question. I get asked that a lot. There's, we work with some of the biggest brands in the world, like Samsonite. We work with some of the smallest brands in the world, like Blake's Snacks, So, I love the fact that we have our hands on everything and we get to see, these same strategies work for everyone. I would say though, that we just did 2 case studies.
Okay.
One with an 8-figure brand, one with a 7-figure brand. They both had the same issue. They both had hit a plateau. And when they went to look and see what was going on under the hood, like they're both spending a good amount of money on ads. They're both already an established seller, but they both hit a plateau. And when they looked at it, it's because a lot of the competitors in the market were leveling up their creative. And when they took an honest look at their creative on their PDP and on their storefront, they were realizing, wow, like we need to step up our game. Everyone else is kind of leveling up every year and our stuff is just staying flat. And so they knew that they had a content problem when they came to us. And that's what we love to hear, because that's what we're here for. So I would say that a lot of times what happens with brands is they do really well on Shopify, and a lot of the resources go to their actual main website or other online channels. And so Amazon is oftentimes treated like a secondary channel. It's not treated like a primary channel. And so what happens there is that because all the resources are going to the e-com team that's doing other things, not Amazon, they're perfecting all of these assets over here and not realizing there's a different kind of format that needs to happen on Amazon. But what happens is more of a copy paste method where we take our Shopify images or our Instagram images and we put them on Amazon, and it's with good intent because these images are beautiful. But that's just not the way that Amazon works, right? Amazon is very SEO driven. We need to make sure our messaging is right. There's a lot more distraction on Amazon, so we're not going to get away with just being able to put a pretty picture. We got to make sure that every single image is kind of showing and telling and really is focused on conversion and hitting the right messaging points for that shopper, which has a very different intent than a shopper that maybe has more time to browse your website.
Right. So, I mean, people put, focusing on their Shopify, businesses focusing on their Shopify store is because they own that customer. I think the case will be made, well, if, putting all this energy over here on, on Amazon, I don't really own the customer. Amazon owns the customer. But I think what you're saying is it doesn't matter. I mean, if you're going to do business on a platform, whichever one it is, you need to create a team around that platform that really understands how to operate correctly in that platform, right?
Right. There's also a whole lot of shoppers that will go and check your website for something, but they're not necessarily going to buy. So I'll give you my use case. I was just in New York. I live in Peru. So what do I do every time I go to the States? Doesn't matter if I'm in New York or California or Miami. I'm doing my Amazon haul, 3 to 4 times a year. I'm in the States. I buy, 50 things at once, have it sitting at the hotel, throw it in my suitcase. If it is not on Prime and it's not going to be at my hotel by the time I get there, I don't order it. So I'm not going to go and order from your website because I don't know with 100% certainty it's going to get there. I know that with Amazon. So my buying behavior is very different from someone like you who maybe is in Austin and you can wait a couple weeks for your suitcase to arrive. I want my suitcase or my supplements to be there at the hotel waiting for me,
Right.
So this actually happened. Exactly. This actually happened because I like to, this is TMI. I like to buy a very specific kind of toothpaste that is a tea tree oil toothpaste. And the one brand that I prefer over all the rest, I'm not going to put them on blast, but they didn't have their product on Prime to be delivered in New York within 2 days. So I would have had to wait 5 days. I was already going to be gone. I was only in New York for 2 days. So I had to order a different brand that I didn't like as much, which I'm also not going to put them on blast. But it was the next best thing, and it was still a tea tree oil toothpaste, right? So it's like these little nuances, but they matter.
Wow, I love it. I mean, it's very nice of you not to put them on notice, then, but the power that you have at the moment. So tell me, I think I saw something on your site as I was looking through search, click, buy, right? That foundation. Can you walk us through? Because I'm very interested in this because I feel like this is a little bit of psychology, how we operate in the world of Amazon, right?
Yeah, it's really simple. And I think oftentimes when we're talking about anything in e-commerce, people can get overwhelmed and it gets overcomplicated. But if you think about, I break it down like this. There's traffic and there's conversion. Those are really the two things besides all your logistics and everything that you need to know on that side. In terms of the actual platform, there's traffic and there's conversion. Traffic is your advertising and getting people to the page. And then conversion is once they're on the page, how do we get them to buy, right? And so Mindful Goods lives in the world of the conversion side. We work with a lot of ads agencies where their domain is driving the traffic. So we work really well with agencies. But over here in this conversion side, we just look at it as a funnel, as you would in any online business. And so the same thing is true on Amazon. And so if we really just bring it down to really simple funnel methodology, we know at the top of the funnel, people are going to be searching for your product. Like I was searching for tea tree oil toothpaste, right? Okay. Well, your product needs to show up in that search result. That's the first thing that needs to happen. But you need to make sure that all the keywords relevant to that product are put in the creatives of your listing now, because Rufus is looking at them, put in the actual text of your listing now on the front end and the back end, and any other ingredients that might be in there. I might have been searching for tea tree oil toothpaste with something else like mint flavor or something, something else. So all of those other extra keywords need to be in there in order for it to show up for me as a shopper when I'm searching, right? That's the first step. That's the SEO. The second part of the funnel is once you're showing up in the search results, now you have 20 to 50 people around you or other products around you that are also showing their toothpaste against yours. Well, how do you get my attention to click on your product instead of all those other competitors? And that's where we look at split testing the main image and really making sure that that main image has way more going on or other elements that are going to attract your eye. We call it eye candy. How do we dress up that main image and get more clicks to your product versus all the other products that are on that search page? So that's the second step of the funnel. Okay. And so let's say I've done step 1 and I've done step 2. Now I'm at the bottom of the funnel, right? I've got the person into my listing. How do I get them to add it to their cart and buy? And that's where all of the other creative that is sitting inside of your listing matters. This is where like 90% of that decision making happens. We need to make sure that every single image in your product image stack that's at the top and in your A+ content that's right below the fold, that every single image is getting people to stop and pay attention and scroll and digest something, right? And sometimes they're not going to look at the product images. Sometimes they're not going to look at the A+ content. So you just got to make sure that you're doing your best in both areas to try to capture the thumb. Try to get the thumb to stop, because they're going to be on mobile. We know that more than 60 or 70% of shoppers are on mobile. So how do we get that thumb to stop and just pay attention a little bit more, get those engagement metrics up, get that dwell time up so Amazon sees that people are interested in your content and ultimately buy your product, right? Because they need to know 3 to 5 things usually in order to put it in their cart. And if you can answer those like top things, for me, it was like, I just want the mint flavor and is it tea tree oil toothpaste? If you just show me that it has those things right off the bat, I'm like, boom, add to cart, going on with my day, right?
So tell me, let's go back, the image, a little bit easier said than done. I mean, what makes up the right image? I mean, obviously Amazon has restrictions on, that, especially that main image. It has to be a certain way. Like, how am I finding the right image? Am I just going to go and start shooting it different ways?
The main image, this is really interesting because our process has actually changed in the last, I would say 2 months. And that's because of AI. And so the way that we used to do main images is we would take a product image, or product shot, photo shot that the client had given us. And we would play around with it, manipulate it a little bit. So we might create a 3D render from it. If it's not high res enough, we might not make a 3D render. Just depends on the category, depends on what is going on in the competitive landscape. We might add some ingredients next to it. So if it's the tea tree oil toothpaste and it's a mint flavor, we might add some mint leaves. If it's a tea tree toothpaste bottle, we might have the bottle standing up here. We might add a box in the background. Guess what? If we add the box in the background, we can now manipulate the box to add some high intent keywords to it. So now we have the box, the toothpaste standing up, and maybe we have a toothbrush coming into the frame, maybe a little hand holding the toothbrush, and maybe the little mint leaves down below. So we get to see the actual toothpaste on the toothbrush. We get to see a little hand. We get to see the box. We got some high intent keywords, so we know Rufus is picking that up. So there's a lot of things you can do to play around with this. Like, let's say you're in the pet category and you have, right now we have I guess I can't say too much, but it's a pet treat that goes kind of on the food, right? But now you have cute little dogs that you can use in your marketing, right? So let's imagine your main image, which is a bowl of food, and the product that goes on top of the food. And now there's a big dog and a little dog, but let's say that main image is showing up in the search results next to 20 other images that don't have dogs. Which one are you going to look at? They're going to be like, oh my gosh, look at that cute Frenchie over there. What's that product?
Okay.
Right? So it's just having fun with that.
You're telling a story with imagery, which is, just a good practice with, in any e-commerce situation, but heavily in this because you're really fighting to get somebody's attention. And something as simple, I was just thinking as you were describing that, I was thinking, all right, well, if I see that leaf, that tells me something, right? Immediately, okay, mint.
Subconsciously, mint, done. And if I'm a shopper searching for mint, and I either see the word mint or I see the leaf, like instantly, I don't even have to put too much brain power. It's just kind of my eyeballs go there visually. We digest 90% of visuals with just a scan, So if you can just create that easy scan for people, that's what's going to get the clicks. So that's in a nutshell what we have done since day one. Our goal is always to create 2 really solid, different types of main images that we then split test on something like PickFu or IntelliV or Product Pinion. Pick your tool. They're all great. And we would basically what I call pre-validate those 2 images, right? We would say, okay, let's take the original image that the client has on Amazon right now. Let's take these other 2 concepts that we had fun and we came up with. Let's test them against this regular image that they already have on Amazon. And ideal scenario is that one of these images completely outperforms that image, right? So that's what we've done forever. The last 8 years, that's what we've done. Now, in the last 2 months, we've basically trained an AI tool on all of our best performing main images across multiple categories.
Wow. Okay.
And we drop in the main image from our client and it spits out 20 high performing main images in about 2 minutes. Now,
Wow.
I would say about 15 of those are not usable, right?
Okay.
Well, all of them are not usable. AI is not that great yet, right? So, but what it does is instead of me as a creative director or my team as creative directors who do this every single day, thinking through 1 or 2 options, now we have 20 options trained on all the ideas that we know to be successful across multiple categories to get the wheel spinning and say, oh, wow, okay, I didn't think about doing that. Okay, boom. Let's pick these top 3 concepts and let's now refine and polish and make these even better, right? So the ideation portion of what we do has just been really expanded really quickly. We can deliver something really quickly to the client. And sometimes we actually have something that is actually usable and performs better than what the client has right now. So we'll just say, go ahead and use that until we polish these up because we know this one's already going to perform better. So you get a win right out the gate, you know?
Yeah. Well, this is where I think a lot of people who try to take something on their own, and, you know, they may have to do that for, you know, budgetary reasons in the beginning, you know, this points to the value of having an agency do something for you because they are constantly, when they're taking best practices from other, you know, scenarios that they've already gone through, but they're doing all this testing. And really at the end of the day, you know, marketing is, you know, very much just one big test to try to figure out, you know, how to get that sale from your marketing initiatives. Tell me, just for those who may never have touched, you know, and dealt with an Amazon product detail page, when it comes to the images, first of all, how many images can you put up, and would you recommend that people put up, and what different scenarios? I mean, you know, there's also option for video too, putting up a video. Like, how far do you take this image-wise, and what do you recommend to clients?
So Amazon released that what they've noticed now in aggregate is that listings or PDP, product display pages that have video are seeing an increase in sales of 22%. So I highly recommend that everyone has some sort of video. I think where people get a little bit intimidated is when they have, when they think about like high production value, high cost videos. But today with iPhones and UGC content, even like Amazon's creator program, there's so many options for getting some like quick, awesome video of people using your product, explaining your product and how they might use it with their other products. So there's really great options out there that don't have to cost more than a couple $100. So highly recommend. What we recommend to clients is they invest in a handful of UGC content and kind of cut and splice together, because you'll get B-roll in there. You'll get people saying awesome things about your product. So you can kind of take these little bits and put them all together in kind of a mashup video. There's lots of really creative stuff you can do. In terms of actual static images, you can have 6 to 9 product images in the carousel above the fold. Now, that's going to include your main image, which has to be a product shot on white. And then everything after that is going to be usually more of an infographic style in those 6 to 9. Now, we recommend 6. There's some agencies that recommend 9. I personally have not seen any of our clients with, 6 underperform versus the ones with 9. So I think what Amazon is looking for in terms of like their algorithm is a minimum of 6. So you're immediately taking up those slots that are visible to the client. That's what we've seen the most success with. And then in terms of the A+ content, one of the things that we see most commonly is that still 50% of brands that come to us today don't have access to premium A+ content. And so this is something, if you didn't know, is basically it allows you to have images below, like big banners below the fold. You can stack them on top of one another, and basically it's like a landing page takeover that sits right above the reviews. And so this can be a really great conversion piece. And actually this one piece of content can improve your sales by 1,008% is the highest that we've seen. Just with going from, ugly A+ content to having nice A+ content. That wasn't even premium A+ content. So premium A+ content, you can have full scale video, you can have carousels, you can have hotspots, you can have just this seamless, beautiful design that goes completely wide scale left to right. And you can upload mobile sized files so that the mobile shopper has a very unique customized experience for them. So premium A+ content is available to anyone who is brand registered and on Seller Central. The language of unlocking it makes it seem really confusing, but it's not. It's if you have one product, you can have premium A+ content, and it's free. And right now, vendors, central sellers have to pay. We have clients that pay almost $1 million to get access to premium
Wow.
A plus content that Seller Central brands are getting for free. So I highly recommend claiming this, getting it. It's so easy. And just to let you know the requirements, all you have to do is upload a brand story and assign it to all your ASINs. So one brand story, and that brand story doesn't have to be anything pretty or designed. You can literally use a placeholder image and just upload a brand story to the brand story section. And when it asks you on the final step, which ASINs do you want to put this on, you have to put it on all of them. And that's the first requirement. The second requirement is that you have to have submitted, I believe it's 5 or 10. It used to be like 15 or 20. You have to submit, let's just say it's 10 right now. It might be 5, but let's just say it's 10 submissions of A plus content. And so this is the part that's really confusing for a lot of sellers. They think, oh, I have to have 10 products and I have to have A plus content on my 10 products. You don't. You could have one product. You could upload a placeholder image on one banner.
Right.
You don't have to have a full, beautiful landing page like what we do. You could have a placeholder lifestyle image just to get it approved. Then once Amazon approves it, hit duplicate submit 10 times.
Oh.
Wait a week. Okay. Amazon will automatically review your account and unlock premium A plus content. And then from that point on, you can design something amazing like what you see on our website.
Wow. Okay. Great. That's I feel like a very powerful pro tip right there on how to get that done. Let's go. So back to the PDP, and also you mentioned UGC, just so everybody knows who's watching this, user generated content.
Yeah.
But let's go back to, we've got the image. Now we've got our images dialed in. And by the way, very interesting as you were saying that about 6 images, I find myself looking at the first 3 and then I jump to the video. That's just my pattern I've been observing as I make Amazon purchases. So I think don't necessarily maybe have to have 9. I don't know if anybody's even getting through 9 images.
Have you noticed a particular do you notice any videos that you like more than others?
I don't like the ones that I can tell where that they use a really bad piece of technology to put this thing together. The voiceover's horrible. I mean, what I like to see, I honestly would love to see just the product in action, like somebody using it.
Yeah.
If you're talking about it's a pet toy or something like that, I don't know, something as simple as throwing, or your dog with the toy. I don't know. Visually, I want to be in the place, with whatever the product is in action, because it's not in my hand. So. Yeah, I think those work well. I do think that some people, in certain types of products need to probably do a much, much better job with their videos, because video can turn you off too, I think, pretty quickly. But I want to get into the product, the description itself. This is where a lot of, incredible optimization can happen. But this is also a place where we probably don't want to do keyword stuffing, right? We don't want to stuff our product description with all the things, mint, back to the toothpaste example, mint, the packaging, like just shove it in. It needs to be a natural, flow, right? I mean, some people read these, but the Amazon search engine will read this as well. What's the strategy here? How do I do this correctly?
So there's a balance, right? And so there's different schools of thought on this. For us, what we're trying to do is make sure that the first few words are engaging, and so that people get the point about what this bullet is going to be about, right? So if I was talking about, let's say, the mint toothpaste, I would maybe start with powerful minty freshness, right? And that's the first thing that you're reading. And then you're like, okay, cool, I get it. That's what this section's going to be about, right? Then the next line might be about the ingredients or the functionality or the whatever. You need to figure out what those 5 talking points are. Agreed. We don't want to be keyword stuffing, because if somebody does read it, you want them to actually understand what they're reading and have it to be really simple to digest. There is a balance as well on how many characters you're using, right? So there's a school of thought that why not use all the characters that Amazon's giving you if they're giving you, let's say, 250 per bullet. Why would you not use all of them? Especially when people might not know your product yet. You know, like if you're a brand like a Samsonite, everybody knows you. You might not need to use all of the description. You might just want to go for digestibility, right? Because like people are actively searching for Samsonite. They're going to find what you need. Or a highly technical product might need more explanation than one that's like really simple and we don't need to overkill, right? So really think about like what does the user need here, and then think about like how many keywords am I really going after in terms of my advertising and being searchable, right? So playing with that balance. Oftentimes what I noticed is like brands will kind of do a little bit of keyword research. They'll pick like the main top 5 keywords that everyone's obviously going after. You're not necessarily going to rank for those right away unless people are finding you and buying you right away, your product. So what you need to do is have a mix of the ones that have, you know, we call it high, medium, and low, or longer tail keywords, right? So it's not always about going for the ones that everybody's going after that are super high demand. You need to kind of step ladder your way into that. And so having a good little mix of those root keywords and kind of working your way up to that, you will end up ranking for some of those top keywords. But if you just go for those top keywords right out the gate, you're going to end up spending more than you would if you just focused on going for some things that are more achievable that maybe have less competition. So it's just understanding where you're at in your life cycle, how much budget you have to spend, and where you're trying to climb the ranks.
Okay. Recommended tools for doing keyword research on Amazon?
We are huge fans of Data Dive. So one thing that I love about Data Dive, and by the way, I'm not sponsored by them, but I do get a little affiliate code. So if you do want a discount, you can use
drop
Mindful.
That in the,
Mindful VIP. One thing that I love is we were doing this manually for years, this thing called Battle of the Titles, where we would go and look at what the competition had in terms of what they were indexed for with their keywords. We would pull the master keyword list that we were building for our client. And then we would write whatever we were thinking for the title, like title structure and everything. And then we would create 2 different titles. And then we would basically create like a little spreadsheet formula to show the client, like, this title we created and this title we created. This one has this amount of reach with these keywords, and this one has this amount of reach, potential reach with these keywords, right? And so for them, it would create a crystal clear numbers, data-driven picture of like, okay, this one has the higher reach. May not be as like user-friendly to read, but it's definitely higher reach. Maybe we should go for that one. And so that was something that we would strategically do, and we would split test manually. Now with Manager Experiments, we can use Amazon's native tool to split test for free, which is great. And we could drop the titles in. Well, with Data Dive, they basically built that whole process into their software. So it's a little bit more advanced. There's a little bit more of a learning curve, but they do have like a seller community where you can do all the tutorials and the trainings and whatever. So that's our favorite tool, but we're also an agency. So that's why we invest and make sure that we're using tools like that, because it does make our process easier, and it makes it easier for our clients to understand how it all works, right?
Yeah.
So that's part of the pain of like pulling a keyword list. Sometimes when you're not as familiar with what you're doing, you're not really sure if you're doing things right. So this kind of makes it easier for us to walk clients through and show them how we're doing it.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's funny. I look at Amazon as like just a big search engine in many ways. You know, search engine that obviously has they want you to buy off of there. But does anybody, the search is the biggest box at the top. Does anybody use the categories anymore? Do they go and click on categories and kind of find their way down, or is it just literally I go straight to the search, and I know that Amazon, has built their own search technology as well? In the mix. Well, how do people operate on Amazon?
I think people still use categories. I think it's very product specific though, right? So it's understanding, like, if, for instance, if I actually found myself using categories when I was searching for luggage myself.
Oh, okay.
So I knew I wanted a specific size, so that was already categorized on the left. I was able to click on it. Now, the part that is frustrating is when you do click on the category and it shows you the ones that are not actually supposed to be in that category or showing up in that category. That's frustrating. And I have seen more and more that Rufus suggestions are actually becoming more accurate than the search. So that's something to keep an eye out for as well. And that's something we didn't talk about, is that...
Well, I was just going to ask you, because you've mentioned Rufus twice, and I'm wondering how many people, are in tune with what Rufus is. on Amazon. It's coming up more and more. I just heard an interview with their CEO and talking about Rufus, but let's tell everybody, let's talk about it. Let's
so
get
it's
into Rufus.
basically becoming like your personal AI shopper that's in the chat box, right? So there's a little Rufus button, but also when you're inside of any product page, right below where your product images show up, there's a bunch of like pre-populated bubbles that give you a suggestion of what people are mostly asking about this product when they're searching, right? And the other thing is you can ask Rufus in that product, like for instance, does this help with wrinkles, or does this have tea tree oil, or whatever question you have, right? And so essentially, if you're a seller and you want to be able to optimize your listing for Rufus, you could go look at your listing and see what bubbles are popping up and prompt Rufus and ask it, what are the top questions people are asking about this product? Get all of that intel and put it into a master spreadsheet, but then also go do that diligence on your competitors as well and see what questions people are asking about your top competitors and build all of that into your copy and your creatives. Because the other thing that Rufus is doing really well is it's able to scan not just your product images, but your A+ content to give the shopper an answer with a visual so that it helps them digest it better, right? So we had this with a client recently that went viral on TikTok. It's called Jayu. And they had people on TikTok that were saying like they're using it for this, this use case or that use case or whatever. And then people would go and look for this product on Amazon and they would then ask like, does this actually help with this thing that this person said in the video, right? And so, yes, we want it to say that it does. So we got to start building it into our visuals so it can say, actually, yes, it does support with wrinkles. And this image right here that the brand has uploaded shows you that. So giving Rufus a way to give a digestible answer in a visual form is great.
Interesting. What is it, in your opinion, what does Amazon look like both on the back end for the seller as well as, on the front end for the customer as AI continues to be, integrated throughout the platform? What do you think it looks like in a couple of years from now?
I hope what it looks like is that it starts to understand our buying behaviors better. So if I look at myself as a use case, one of the things that kind of frustrates me today about the shopping experience on Amazon is that I might go to look for something and you see like 50 or 100 of the same thing and it's not the actual thing that you're looking for, or they all just kind of look the same. And it's like, if you could just have a feed of like all the unique ones, then you could get to the one that you're kind of, thinking about in your head quicker. And, for some people, they might have preferences, for me, I know that I have a specific preference. I'm willing to pay a little bit more for something that looks a little bit nicer. Other people might not. They want they just need it to solve a problem and want something cheaper. And so it's like, if Amazon has that data, because they do, and they can match the AI intelligence with the user buying behaviors, we should be able to see better results that we're more likely to buy. So I think that that's what's going to get smarter.
Okay. And Amazon on the back end has, ways to enhance listings with AI right now. But people also, outside of working with an agency, people are probably using ChatGPT or Claude or any tool out there, Perplexity, or even now with Perplexity Comet, so they can literally have the page open. What do you see, where do you draw the line between, that AI generated content and the human touch? Is the human touch still important? Do we matter still in this process?
So we're kind of a hybrid.
Okay.
We use AI in many parts of our process now. So I'm definitely not anti-AI. In fact, we use AI for, like I told you, the main images.
Yeah.
We use AI for sometimes replacing photo shoots when the clients don't have time to do photo shoots. It's a time saver in that regard. It still takes time though. Like, I don't want people to think AI is just like one click. Oh my gosh, I have these amazing product images. If you want product images that actually look legit, they still take time and they take resources. So that's still happening there. The other thing we're using AI for is for scaling catalogs. So in the past, we were never able to work with brands that had, like, let's say more than, I don't know, maybe 100 or 200 SKUs. We'd be working on that for the end of time, So now we're able to basically create master designs that are still very custom tailored to the brand. and then basically scale them across thousands of SKUs if we wanted to. So I think that there's a place for AI in so many different parts of the process, that it's just about understanding, like, is this solving the problem that I have at the moment? You know,
Right.
In terms of copywriting, we still have a human copywriter. She does all of our copywriting. Does she play around with AI? I'm sure she does. I'm sure she, goes in, puts some ideas and chats back and forth to be like, okay, what about this? What about that? Like,
Right.
why wouldn't
Yeah.
you? We have that at our disposal now. One thing that I did for my own brand recently is I trained a custom GPT on my top performing sales calls that got us our best clients this year. Our top performing webinars and podcasts that we did. So it knows how I speak and the types of things that we talk about. I gave it all the resources to understand what our services are, what are the the things that we do in terms of our process with split testing and with scaling catalogs and AI and all of that. And I basically trained it on every part of our business. And then I said, if I'm targeting that ICP, how should I be speaking to them in terms of building a high converting landing page? How should I be speaking to them in terms of, an email sequence? And so those are all the things that we can do now. And of course, like, it put out something that was great, but then I put the human touch at the end to kind of change it to be exactly what I wanted it to be. But that was immensely powerful. And I think that's the thing that's going to happen in the very near future. One thing that we're already playing with right now is building that exact kind of intelligence for our clients so that we can basically do split tests with AI generated avatars that are built directly off of their intelligence from the reviews that are on their listings, right? So like, we love using PickFu, but imagine if we could rapid fire do a bunch of different split tests as we're designing, just like in 2 minutes. With these AI avatars, we can have much quicker feedback loops as we're designing.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's just a different purpose.
Yeah. Well, I think that, just speaks to, I've heard comments that, agencies will be irrelevant in the next 5 years. People will be able to push buttons and, with AGI, it'll be, everything will be taken care of. I think actually what you just explained, the process of using it to make, one, your agency, your business model better and your process better, and two, make things better for your client, but still keeping that human in the loop. I mean, we've got to, human beings still have a voice in this process.
Totally.
So I don't think that should go away. So now, if I've gotten everything set up, I've worked on my images, I've got 6 really good images now. I've worked on my content, my product, name and everything like that, A+ content. How often should I come back and, monitor, update my listings, refresh them? Can I run with them for a while because I'm very busy and I don't have a lot of time to keep coming back and doing this and I just want to have sales? What's the approach there on ongoing optimization?
So I think there's 2 ways to look at this. Like, if for any brand, you should be at least refreshing 1 time a year, like minimum.
Okay.
That's like the bare minimum. And what we've noticed is, like, we've had brands come back to us 3-4 years in a row where their branding has elevated, their messaging, they've learned new things in doing their messaging in retail stores. They wanted to change that messaging online too. And so there's a lot of things that can happen in the course of a year where you understand your customer better and you develop as a business and a brand. And so you would want to keep everything fresh as well. So that's like a bare minimum. But if you're a brand that's looking to see like incremental gains as you go, and what I recommend to those brands is to be split testing throughout the year. And this is something that doesn't have to be super time intensive. So if we think about the main image as an example, this is the thing that's going to improve one step of your funnel, very specifically improve your click-through rate on your listing. That means that more people are going to come into your listing and potentially buy from you. So if that is the piece of the funnel that we need help fixing, then it would suit you to build, let's say, 4 to 10 different main images that you test throughout the year. Now, all you would have to do is at the beginning of the month, every month, upload the next one, see how it performs against your baseline. Keep the one that wins, upload the next one. So the next month you swap it out again. That's a 10-minute activity. Once you have all of them designed, you can spend a month working with a designer to get all of them designed for the year. And then every month you're just uploading for 10 minutes and you just, at the end of the month, you check and see how it performed. And so that's a simple test you can run for that stage of the funnel. Once they're inside your listing, how do we get them to convert? That's the conversion piece, right? So maybe that's playing around with your modules in your A+ content. Maybe moving a video up to the top of the A+ content. And that's just literally moving something to move it from here to here and run it for 30 days. Like, you didn't even have to work with a designer. You just said, you know what? Maybe if we put the video higher on the page, we'll get more people to watch the video and buy our product. Right? Okay. So there's little things you can be doing throughout the year that don't have to be time-intensive activities. It's a matter of discipline and saying, like, I'm going to make sure that I always have split tests running for something, and that's the way to really keep your competitive edge and make sure that you're always growing on that conversion side on Amazon.
That's great. And I would say also maybe just be a shopper regularly too, and pay attention to how other brands are doing it, because you'll spot things.
Yeah. I actually like to look at not just your competition. Look at other categories. Look at high velocity categories like supplements, like beauty products, like CPG, people that they really have to compete hard. Look for the products that are going viral on TikTok and see what they're doing on Amazon. Like those are the kinds of things that you can do to like get really inspired and take little tips from maybe what they're doing and apply it to yours and see if it helps you.
That's great advice. Do you see, just if I get, maybe I'm starting out for the first time on Amazon, can I survive without running ads? We covered this topic of ads, and I believe that's how we got introduced. Can you do it, or is advertising just absolutely essential in this day and age on Amazon because it's so crowded out there?
I'm going to say what everybody's not saying. So we work with 150 brands every year. And the narrative that I see online from all the other agencies out there is that Amazon is pay to play. You can't be successful unless you run ads. Yes, we know this to be true. Like, Amazon is an advertising playground. If you want to grow, you should be doing advertising or figuring it out. We work with plenty of brands that have either turned off their ads for some reason or another, like they just never figured out their strategy, or they're primarily spending on TikTok ads, or they're just trying to get their product launched to validate before they go all in on ads. And so there doesn't have to be this like one size fits all, like you have to go all in on ads. Like, there's still a way to do this to where you can be successful without ads, or you can layer on ads when you're ready for that, So for me, like, especially if it's a product that's in demand, like people are searching for these types of products, you launch the product, people are looking for it, you're going to get a certain small percentage of sales, right? Get the sales coming in, invest more, and then start doing the ads so you have cash flow and you can invest in the ads. But I think there is different ways to go about it. Obviously, the brands that are coming in and they're investing right off the bat, like, yes, that is a strategy. It doesn't have to be a strategy for everyone. Eventually, you do have to figure out what is the way that you're going to drive traffic, whether that's Amazon ads, TikTok ads, organic marketing, your email list, whatever that way is. Maybe it's a combination of things. That is one of the biggest things that you have to figure out as an entrepreneur,
Okay. Well, all right. So we have covered so many different aspects of that product detail page and optimizing it. And as I've, if I'm on the other end listening to this and saying, okay, wow, there's a lot I have to do, change this, change, update, do all these different things. But I want to let people take away one thing, like as a professional would do today, just one thing that you would do to change or audit, your Amazon listing if you are a merchant selling through Amazon.
Okay, so there's 3 pieces of this. So we run split tests. We run split tests on titles. We run split tests on main images. And we run product images together, main image and product image. And then we run split tests on A+ content. I will tell you without a doubt that A+ content has the highest performance of anything that you will split test. But you can get much quicker, better gains from, not necessarily better, but quicker gains and significant gains from title testing. And it is the lowest lift out of any activity you can do on your listing is simply split testing your title. So we can see, I think it's up to like 550 or 600% increase in sales by just split testing our title. So
can I do that in PickFu? I can get in there and
that you would just do with manager experiments. So you want to build it in something like Battle of the Titles, like what I explained, like you know, figure out which keywords you're putting into your title. Pair it with whatever keywords you're targeting with your advertising as well. And that way everything is aligned in terms of strategy. And then just upload it to a manager experiment, Amazon's free tool for split testing. Let it run for 2 to 4 weeks and see which one performs better. That's beautiful. A really, really easy thing you can do. The second highest lift is going to be your main image. The third highest lift is going to be your A+ content. A+ content will generate the most sales. It's the conversion piece, but it is the hardest thing to do well.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. That's beautiful. I love it. I love the 1, 2, 3 in the focus side of things. So, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, some people will try this on their own. Some people will, you know, jump in and, you know, if this is their first go at it, but it, you know, eventually it leads to a place of, you know, you probably need, you know, that next level help in there. But, you know, I always encourage people to try the low to no cost approach with anything, especially if they're getting into something new. So with that said, so let's say, you know, I try this out. I'm 12 months into this and I'm just, you know, I've tried the 1, 2, 3 approach you did. I'm doing all these things. I'm just not seeing this. Is how do they reach out to you and where do they find you, Daniela, to help them figure this roadmap out? Because it is a lot of work at the end of the day. This is, you know, and especially if it's a big part of your business. How do they find you? Yeah,
so you can go to mindfulgoods.co. And from there, you can schedule a call with us. At the very bottom of mindfulgoods.co, there is an option for what we call a mini audit. So I usually recommend that people try that because it's a few $100, very low cost investment, and it's going to get myself or one of my creative directors to look at your listing and record a video for you showing you, here's what we would do if we were working on your listing. Here's the top things that you should focus on right now. And oftentimes brands, I would say 50-50. This will be the thing that convinces you to work with us, or this will be the key that you needed to hand off to your team or your designer to get these things going, right? Because we make it very, very easy for you to see like, okay, you need to focus on this, like a little hit list, right? And so I highly recommend doing that as like just an entry level thing to see if you even like working with us, if you even like how we audit your listings. It's a great entry level piece. So I would check that out.
I love it. I love it. Well, this has been fantastic. I think, you know, again, there's so much to unpack here. We could probably spend the next 3 hours talking about all the different strategies that you can put in place. Yeah, but I want you know, everybody to walk away with this, you know, success on Amazon. It's not just about having a great product. I mean, that is very important, but it's about presenting it in the right way. And I think that's what we're talking mostly about today is, you know, there's words of optimization, A/B testing, all this is presenting your product the right way so it gets clicked on and ultimately gets bought. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Daniela. This has been wonderful. I'm glad the internet connection from Peru using a satellite, we won't name any names here, worked out well, and we all, you know, stayed connected. And it's really, I love this topic. You know, Amazon has been around for I mean, we're going into the 31st year, I believe, of Amazon, and really has kind of defined the e-commerce landscape, but still remains a mystery to a lot of people too, and a lot of people haven't even jumped into it. So I think this is a phenomenal episode for those of you who are thinking about getting into it, those of you who've already been in it and haven't maybe seen success, and you want to just take it to the next level. Listen to these strategies. Go back and play it on 0.75 and listen and go and execute on these. So thank you, Daniela, for making time to come on the E-Commerce Revolution podcast today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Ramin.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that brings us to the end of another episode of the E-Commerce Revolution podcast. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, and tune in, jump into our community. We've got a lot of great information, such as this podcast that you're listening to now. And I hope everybody has a great rest of your day. Thanks, everybody. See ya. All right, that brings us to the end of another episode of the E-Commerce Revolution podcast. Don't forget to check out past episodes, which are all available on demand on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcast. Ready to join the revolution? Become an exclusive part of our growing community of emerging e-commerce entrepreneurs at ecomrevolution.co. Until next time, see ya.